Good morning, good afternoon. What is going on, everybody? Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing, getting ready here for our New York session. Euro on the move. Euro on the move. Dollar a little weak. Gold coming back, testing this area of breakout. Let's change that resistance over to support in 1 second. Equities continue beast mode, up another 3%, getting to an interesting point. What's happening? Are we in a recovery? What is going on, everyone? Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you all. Yes, Martine, Roman, Jordan, Jean. What's going on, Thomas? Primasorio. Mara Blair. All right. Listen, everyone. I need to talk some things through with you as we get into the charts this morning. Let's start off with the DXY. Though let's get into the charts and get into the important stuff right away, because it looks to me like the market's pricing in a recovery. Now, here's the DXY. Okay, this was our triangle over here and the breakout. We came up into this area, and now we're just coming in and we're testing that this is an area of support that we're testing. All right. So, yes, I'm still a dollar bull. Yes, we're trading at 99.86. I'm completely open to when and if this turns. Now, there has been an enormous amount of stimulus by the U.S., by the Fed printing an enormous amount of money. Even last night, needed to open up a swap line to Indonesia. Blair, Indonesia needed a new swap line directly to the Fed because they're short dollars. And the fact of the matter is that all this is creating more debt and more dollar shortage. Nevertheless, I do not want to get caught on the wrong side of anything. So we're going to take it as it comes. Right now, I have the dollar coming into an area of support. Let's look over at the euro. Donald Trump said by Easter, we would see the worst of the pandemic. He said that a while ago. He said it a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, and he received a lot of flack for that. Now, is he right? I don't know. There's actually, I'm going to read to you this really, really important email that was shared with me by a member of the community. Bear with me a second. We got a good session ahead of us, a lot to cover, because why this is going to be such a good session, because today things are unclear for me. So right now, in the next hour, I'm going to make them really clear for myself. So this is going to be a really important session. We have a lot to cover. It's going to be really, really helpful for figuring out what's next. It's also Easter week, right? This is Easter week. You have to be aware of your positioning. You know, generally speaking, this has historically been a good week for equities going into Easter week. Is that playing into things today? I don't think so. I think it has to do with the corona. But so there are two schools of thoughts, right? First one is China's starting to go back to work along with Taiwan. Virus cases are starting to slow down in some of the hardest hit countries. Now they're just starting to really get going in emerging countries. And this whole COVID-19 thing is overblown. That the market is pricing in a recovery since people haven't been away from their jobs that long, and it won't take too long for everyone to get back in the groove. And the second school of thought is there are 1.4 million cases worldwide right now. So that should be 3 million a week from now. We won't have a cure or a vaccine until January 2021 at the earliest, unless Gates already has it. The worst economic numbers still have to come out in the next 3 months, absolutely. The upheaval caused will be too big to get supply chains working again quickly, absolutely. The virus sticks around much longer, and there will be civil unrest, which will be bad for the economy. I didn't even think of that one. I suppose if things get bad, we have second and third waves, as is being predicted by some investment banks. That things can get bad out there if in the fall kids aren't returning to school and people are hungry. I don't know. What I'm getting at though here Nice, Martine. We're gonna take a good look at that right now. For yeah, so um the reason I start the session off with this is because I I do not know what's gonna happen. Have we seen the worst of the worst? Have we seen the low on the stock market? Now, I still don't think so, but perhaps the response by the Federal Reserve has been enough. Perhaps. Um, how long do people start flying again? I know that there are people looking at tickets, perhaps like for July or August, because they would like to start traveling. They have some things they need to get done, some business meetings. They're a little concerned about purchasing tickets because they don't know if the airlines will refund them if there's a second wave of viruses. Now, in the West, we're not going to have the type of restrictions that they had over in China. It's a very unclear situation. What we could do is follow the charts, but I'm not. What's unclear for me is I'm not leaning one way or the other in this moment. All right, so I don't know. Just a couple of comments would be helpful. What are you guys going more with option one or option two? Are we in the clear? Have we seen the worst? Or are things gonna get bad? By the way, and because I want to get into the charts, some important things. Um this is important though. It says if anything, this data, because right here in Spain, we're still seeing an increase now over the last couple of days, percentage wise. They're saying, listen, it's too soon to draw any conclusions. It's too soon, and it's too early to consider easing lockdowns. Right? That seems appropriate to me. JP Morgan is saying that once we pass the peak of the virus, the possibility that we receive second and third waves, which is what happened with the Spanish flu. It's going to be a while before we see the vaccine. So, restaurant owners are not doing business. How do they pay their rent? What do the landlords do? If the landlords don't collect the rent, how do they pay the mortgage? You know. All right. Right here, Martine, good trade. This was my alert that I set with you all and where I set my stops. This is where I got out of my shorts at 1.08244. I didn't reverse it and go long. I just stayed out of it. And now we're into some resistance up here. Am I going to fade it? No, I'm on the sidelines throughout this whole session until something becomes clear with me. So I'm going to start this off by getting a feel for what's going on. And I see right now, I see the euro is trading into resistance. So for me, that means let's see if we break above, or let's see if we're rejected. I got to give it some time. There's nothing to do there at all. Let me peep in on gold over here, because gold looks good in the fact that yesterday, but Anita, if you're listening, fantastic job on trading this. By the way, I do see here, as you were pointing out, we're looking at whether this was a reverse head and shoulders, whether it is or wasn't. There was still this beautiful trade over here. Just from this trend line alone, once you broke out to the upside, good trade. So right now we've broken this resistance yesterday, and we're testing this support. So if this holds successfully, is it time to get long gold? Again, I don't know, and I'm deciding. I'm figuring things out right now. All right, I'm really figuring things out. But I noticed that the euro US dollar right now is at resistance, so that means we need to watch what the next move is there. Martine, I don't know if you're still riding that or what. We're at resistance right now. I'm going to watch to see if we break that resistance, or if that resistance hold and price takes me back into the trade. Same thing here with gold. Gold broke out above this resistance and is now testing this support. All right, so that gives two clear indications, two clear possibilities of what happens next. Now the DXY also, right? That just came down into support. This was the resistance that when we broke above, you can see you came back down into here. All right, this is also important for, you got to rewire the brain. This came right into here, and now we're testing that support. All right, so let's see what happens. Are we going to hold that support, resume off it? If we do, I will become pretty darn bullish on the dollar. If we don't, all right, let's see about taking some other opportunities. US dollar, Japanese yen, kind of bullish, right? In the fact that the yen is just must be weak today. So it was on Monday that Japan did a $1 trillion, which is 20% of their GDP stimulus. All right. To be honest, yesterday well, the yen was stronger than the dollar, but weaker than everything else. Really hasn't had much of an effect, to be honest. That's a big number though for that size of an economy. It's a really big number. Over here, the U.S. dollar is showing some fight against the yen. So a quote unquote weak dollar is doing all right versus the yen. I want to check out the British pound US dollar. I think Boris is doing all right. Thank God. I think he's stable. Yesterday we were taking. I took a short off of this over here, and then was stopped out. And now we have come back above this resistance over here. So the pound looks a little bit stronger than anything else. All right. When I say anything else, the euro right now is into resistance. The pound looks like it's trying to get above it. All right. I want to see what's going on with the US dollar, Canadian dollar, because I think I'm checking out all dollar pairs here first, trying to get a feel. And this is coming down into support. So let's get a look on the daily. This is coming down into support right over here. All right, I see lower lows big time, and I think we could put up a trend line over here. All right. So this is in a serious situation. Serious because is that the right look? I have this at the body over here, this little line over here. I don't know if it should be down at the close of these bodies though, where this touched also. That's not so easy to figure out where is the right place over there. And move it down. It's very important to see whether if this low gets taken out and holds, then we could see a bigger move here. But if not, this is the time to step into buy. It's tough. It's tough. Things are unclear for me, and I keep going until they become clear. At least I know that on the euro US dollar, at least I know on gold, they're trading at some important resistance and support points, which makes it easier to trade them. Although I just don't have that clarity. Australian dollar, look at this huge move. 1.85% bazooka, huge move here on the Australian dollar US dollar, still into resistance. If this gets above, what's going on? Are we off to the races? I don't know. The last week of trading here, ever since the swap lines hit Australia, we've seen, Australian dollar bid. Hey, those dollars have to be paid back though. Let's see. We're into resistance. We're definitely into resistance right now. So we're at some pretty important points all across the board. I want to check out the New Zealand dollar. Still not clear for me. New Zealand dollar, a little weaker than the Australian dollar all around. Excellent comments. Excellent comments. Just catching up on them. Before let's do New Zealand dollar, US dollar first, because then that finishes up our US dollar pairs, except for the US dollar Swiss franc, which we will do next. This looks a little weaker here than the Australian dollar. You see, the Australian dollar is trading into this area of resistance, and the New Zealand dollar is lagging. All right, so this is my first area to watch. If the dollar is holding here, if the dollar is firming up over here, and if we start making lower lows here, I'm not sure if on the 8-hour or the daily, this might be the place, the 8-hour, to attack. All right, so this is the first thing that I like. I like that it looks like a possible lower low is being put up on here as the dollar's in an area of support. And if the dollar support holds and we do turn here, then this, this might be a place to look. Thomas, I'm going to check out the S&P and gold in 1 second. So Swiss franc, wow, probably one of the strongest pair versus the dollars today. Well, a lot stronger than the Japanese yen at least. But yeah, this was rejected cleanly at the heavy resistance. So that's beautiful to see. It's just rejected beautifully up here at that resistance, right? Is it coming into an area of support with the touches down here? Little area of plane over here, and then again over here, mildly. I'm not ready to trade against the dollar, and because the dollar for me is just, it's testing this area of support, the breakout of earlier. I guess I don't remember when that was. Friday maybe we broke out to the upside over here, but we're just testing that right now. And then what happens if we break down? Or should I look at where would I get like bearish on the dollar? Is this a possible? No, it's not head and shoulders. Where would I get bearish on the dollar? Before we move forward, let me figure that out with you. I mean, I'm quite bullish up here. I suppose we have to take out these lows all the way down here at 98.22. And then if we took out these lows over here, I think at that point, I would have to start getting bearish on the dollar. So maybe even up here. If we took out these lows over here, then there's a good chance we're at least testing these. But up here, I'm bullish on the dollar, so I can't take positions against the dollar really. Is if the S&P continues to rally, will gold rally? We've seen a really weird correlation in the last few days between the equities, gold, and Bitcoin all rising together. So how I read that is the fact that as the equities are rising, as a recovery is being priced in. If you remember back in 2008, it was once QE started and once you started seeing a recovery, that gold went bazooka, like really bazooka, right? Because that meant like the economy, there was no more liquidity crisis. The economy was still pretty bad, but like we've seen the worst. And all of that printed money needed to be repriced into gold, right? So the same thing is going to happen again eventually. All of this money that has since been created out of nothing is going to have to be repriced into gold, precious metals, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is going to be the rising tide that lifts all of the crypto market. Not all. There's plenty of shit coins out there. It's gonna lift up, a lot of the cryptocurrency market, and there will be during the mania. There will be definitely altcoins that outperform Bitcoin. At the end of the day, what do you want to own? Do you want to own copper or do you want to own gold? So I do think a rising S&P, a rising equity market will continue to help gold rise and Bitcoin rise. I just don't know. I think right now I see a lot of euphoria here. You could see that the narrative on the headlines, at least of the mainstream news, is definitely supportive of very optimistic. The White House is very optimistic, and you're seeing that priced into the markets here, as well as you could see that like they're already talking about another stimulus bill. First, $1 trillion, take another $1 trillion, and then like, oh no, it's going to be at least $1.5 trillion, and they're just throwing out money, right? And so I think though, as we get towards this 2811, and then if we are able to get this upper trend line over here, if we are able to get up into this upper trend line, I think that's the place while we're still under this trend line over here. that I would have to really dig in and short this thing, because then my risk is limited. I don't. I can't imagine we haven't seen the worst. Was it people aren't paying their rent? People have no money to pay their rent. It's only been 1 month. Listen, we're not. Things are not going to be open next month for business. That's the plain truth. I mean, next week, right? Maybe next month. I hope next month. But we're the U.S. is definitely a few weeks behind. Spain and Italy, at least New York, and those areas are not open. So what makes you think that the U.S. is going to be able to open up? I don't see it. You know, here in Mexico, things are getting really bad. I always said we were 3 weeks behind the U.S. Things are just starting to get really bad in a lot of emerging markets. I don't know. So right now, though, I think that's supportive of gold and Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin doing? See, Bitcoin's into an area of. Let me move this down a tiny touch. Bitcoin is into an area, right? Let me back up. This is the triangle. This is the liquidity crisis that caused us to crash under it. We're close to regaining it, but Bitcoin, that's a resistance right now that Bitcoin is up to. All right, so why I think that not only we're going to regain this level, and I think we're going to end up somewhere between this resistance, I don't know whatever you want to call it, 81.77 and probably like 84.50 before we come back down, get rejected, and test this broken resistance trend line to see if it holds a support. But right here we got some resistance today, so let's see what happens. Once that happens, if we get a successful, if we come up here and do test successfully, then at that point, you know, things are looking back to normal. Like it's as if you just erase all of this, except that people, some of us were able to get some nice longs down here. Um, and we're back to where we should be pre-halving, which is getting closer every day. Every 10 minutes, a new block is printed. We're closer and closer. You can't just come in there and print trillions of dollars and extend the supply of Bitcoin. It's actually quantitative hardening is about to take place on Bitcoin, right? So why the rest of the world is easing, Bitcoin's is hardening its monetary supply. Euro, pound, wanted to check out. What's going on? Good to see you all. Of course, Riyad. We'll check out the Europe British pound right now. Both of those are moderately strong today against everything else. So what are they doing with each other? Right? They kind of battling it out. So we said that, all right, they're both moderately strong today versus everything else. Both are strong versus the dollar, and together that's a stalemate, right? That's almost a doji. There's no clear winner one way whatsoever. Bigger picture, what's happening here? Let me step back for a minute. That's tough. There's no they're in a stalemate over here. I don't really see any edge one way or the other to lean in one way or the other right here right now. So I don't really like this support line I have over here though. It should be down further. Hey, Riyad, I don't see anything going on whatsoever here. I don't see an edge. I don't see anything whatsoever. That might prove very useful for us. That might prove very useful for us if we get a break below this trend line. That could open up the door to the downside. Aside from that, that's that's really murky for me. It's really unclear. If I got a break of this trend line though, it's not something that I would trade out either way. Anyway, so I would just stand aside, look for other opportunity. You want to go where things are abundantly clear. You want to say, well, I completely see this. This is clear. This is what I want to take advantage of. Luca, what's going on? Nice. Pound New Zealand dollar. Leaning into a little bit area over here of support. I think that this might be a place to perhaps lean in here if we resume off of this to lean in to buy. I like where the New Zealand dollar is versus the U.S. dollar. It looks a little weak. You know, again, it's not something here that I'm interested in, but over here, if this support holds and we do resume over by making higher highs off of this support, that's a place to lean in and buy. Absolutely. Um, and if we lose it, let's see if we get another test of this support down here. This would be a more attractive area to buy. This is something if we trade it down to here that I would consider taking a look at. And then this is also a nice area down here, because if we lose this area at that point, that opens up a lot of momentum to the downside. I don't really foresee that happening, at least right now anyway. I'm looking right now as we're trading into the support, see if it holds. Probably something similar on the Australian dollar, with the Australian dollar actually having a deeper pullback. Yep. Is it time to lean into these currencies? I don't, for me, I'm a dollar bull. I'm not a pound bull, right? The dollar, the people need dollars. No one needs pounds. No one else in the world needs pounds, except the UK. And people need dollars. And there's a lot of debt being created, and that debt's got to be paid back in dollars. So I'm also looking for. I don't believe that this whole situation is over with whatsoever. People are already like, are they looking at new all-time highs? Are people calling for 3,400 yet? You know, probably. People are getting a little bit euphoric. I would love to look at the market cycles. Then I could tell you where we are. Um, let's see. So this was also the way up, right? Here was the crash. Boom. So we're in denial right now? Maybe. Are we in denial? The sharp rise up. Everything's going to come back. My investments are with don't bet against the US. Everything's okay. Have we ever got towards the panic stage? No, we didn't get to the panic stage. We were in a crisis. We were in a liquidity crisis, but we were never in the panic stage. I didn't see uh, you know, um, normal people capitulating, selling their stocks. There was zero capitulation actually. People didn't sell. I don't think we hit the bottom. I think we got a while to go. Is the dollar going to crash? I don't know. I'm on the dollar wrecking ball camp. There's a beautiful video that I want to share with you. I just started that discusses all of this. Um, Actually, both of them now have actually become seemingly dollar bulls. Listen, I'm a dollar bull. I don't think the dollar is going to crash. I think the dollar crashes in the end game. That's the end game for all of this. I don't think we're close to the end game. I think that probably we're going to see what is the Fed's balance sheet at now? I've lost track. I have to check. I've lost track over these past couple of weeks where they've printed another, $4 trillion plus. But they're going to get all the way to 30-40 trillion dollars before this is all over, I'm sure. And I think that what we're going to see happen actually is I think we're going to see the dollar trade, at 105 and up, between 105 and 120. I think then you're going to see some coordinated action versus the dollar. They're going to try to bring that down. They're going to try seriously to bring that down. I think they're going to have some success initially. That's what makes the trade hard, is that you can't just sit easy in it, because they're gonna have a coordinated response versus the dollar, and they're gonna do their best to bring it down. And near term, they will bring that down. That's just one round of the match, though. Ultimately, we'll see what happens. It's a fluid situation at this point right now. Right here, I'm dollar bull. I've been dollar bull, and right. You remember down here, what did we say? Eventually, we were going to break above this trend line, that we were going to come up and we were going to test 100. And here we traded up to 103. Do I think we come back and test these highs and break them? I do. Will there come a point in time where I become a dollar bear? I'm willing to change on a dime. I just want to continue making money. That's an interesting that's an interesting comment, Jesse. First, I want to go to Blair's, because Blair says a lot of businesses that closed will never reopen. Unemployment's going to continue to skyrocket, and the virus will subside. Depression very likely. That's the camp that I'm in. Jesse's is providing a good argument. Says he believes we'll see things bounce back in the economy. Will be better than before the next few years, and then boom, will start to fall apart. So that's, I like considering all arguments, right? I want to know the other side of the chessboard, and that's something that could happen. I mean, that's the question in the back of my mind. Was the Fed and global response enough? I have to be honest, people that it's a good question. It's a good question. What's happening since we've been talking for the last half hour? First, S&P is opening up right now. U.S. equity markets are opening right now at 9:30 at their highs of the day. Dollar hasn't really moved over the last 30 minutes. We could see that U.S. dollar, Japanese yen is trying to close to unchanged on the day, and the euro is just off the highs of the day. All right. Too soon to call anything. It's just right now trading into resistance. Someone like Martine, who's been all over this beautiful long, by the way. Look at, and that was a good long to take. I don't trade against the trend here, but this was a double bottom. This was a bottom here, first of all, one touch here, another here. And then you had the double bottom we looked at yesterday. And there was a lot of space. So your risk reward, my stop was at 108.227, right? So from here to here, it's like a 1.5 risk reward. This is a good trade. If I was in this trade right now, though, and what would I be doing? Well, I would be taking profit. But what you want to do is watch to see whether or not we roll back over, and that's when you that's when you definitely need to take profit. Or if we break above, then for sure there's a good chance we trade back up to this resistance over here at 1.099. Right now we don't know. Euro gold a little bit heavy so far on the session. It's down off $40, right? So it's a little bit heavy. This looks a little bit precarious, so you have to watch up here, right? So What else do we have going on the chart? So Bill Gates is a little bit of a mastermind here, right? He seems to have his fingerprint all over this. And clearly what he's trying to do is he's trying to get everyone, well, he's been very clear about it. He wants to see everyone vaccinated. The vaccine's not coming for a while, right? Best case scenario, vaccine doesn't come for a while. Basically, what they want to happen is everyone begging for the vaccine when it comes, right? Right now, if all of a sudden they had a vaccine today, for sure, there's no way I would take the vaccine, and for sure, being in my demographic and a healthy guy who eats really well, I'd probably rather get the virus and build up immunity to it than go get whatever in that shot. But a lot of people will be really hesitant towards it, right? Towards getting that vaccine. People are already hesitant towards getting vaccines, right? And so what I'm getting at is they want to make people beg for it. They want to make people beg for that vaccine. And in order to do that, things are going to have to get much worse. They're already talking about digital certificates. They're talking about once you get vaccinated, then you're cleared to travel. You'll have some type of, whether it's, I don't know how they'll do it, probably be like some microchip or something really you know diabolic. And at that point, then I think that is what they're thriving for or what they're pushing for, right? Because once they have that chip in you, or once they have that digital certificate, then everything else could also be digitized. And it's definitely that one step closer towards tyranny, one world government, everything that these people are planning. So I'm definitely in the camp here that things are going to get much worse, and that we'll see what happens. It's a fluid situation. Mima, sorry about that. US dollar, Swiss franc. Swiss franc is pretty strong today versus the dollar. No denying that. As far as what's going to happen, let's have a better look at it on the 1 hour, because the dollar is at support on the DXY. Euro US dollar is at resistance, and you can see over here that we're into a little bit of support here on the US dollar Swiss franc. You know, so we've seen and been for the last couple of weeks in a bit of an uptrend here on the dollar versus the Swiss franc. We came into this heavy resistance, right? And it was rejected, but we're now into some support. So it's a question of right, what's the next move on the dollar? Are we going to see it within the next hour? I hope so. I would like a little bit more clarity. Right now, I'm not clear on a lot of things, and I would like to be. But right here, you need to see if we break through, and if we break through, then I'm coming down further. How's this trend line, this support line? Right, could be down into this area. Should also be another one. Let me draw it in. If we lose this area of support we're in right now, this area of local support, then we're coming down further. Let's see whether or not she holds or not. If it does hold here and we start resuming, I think the dollar is going to come back and test the highs. So I've not yet given up here on the dollar whatsoever. Here's a look at the dollar. This is the breakout. Here's the breakout. We're just testing that right now. Oh, yeah, that's a good I'm glad you said that. So that's another part of the puzzle. I mean, basically, also what I think they're trying to do is get everyone on universal basic income, right? They're in the first stimulus bill passed. The House stimulus bill wanted to provide digital wallets to everyone. They wanted to provide digital wallets to everyone. It was removed from the bill that passed. Those digital wallets would have been how they pass on the stimulus checks. That would have been the foundation for universal basis of income. They want everyone on welfare, right? They they want to reduce the population. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear it, and they want everyone on welfare. And the way they're going to do that is by shutting down the economy as they're doing it, right? If they're not allowing people to work, how are people going to make money and survive? Then they need the government printed money in order just to buy basics and survive in food. So they plan on passing. I think I heard they plan on passing 4 more stimulus bills. So we'll see ultimately what happens. So here we are. Every time I get into any type of conspiracies, I know people, you know, I don't want to trigger anyone or anything like that. But the thing is that very powerful people do conspire for power and control, right? It's also for them. So I'm on your side. I'm trying to navigate this all with you. So the S&Ps over here coming off a little bit since the opening. You can see that right now. What's gold doing? Gold looks like it has the possibility of losing this. This is an important period for gold, whether or not it holds or breaks this area. And I suppose at the same time, the Bitcoin, I'm surprised Bitcoin's up. I thought Bitcoin was going to be down when I just looked at it right now. But here it is. It's up a little bit. I feel like on the open here, we're 10 minutes into the open, markets are coming out a little bit soft. And I think that's because they're all at those pretty important inflection points. Even the calendar, the news feed is light. That's the worry right there, right? So we got a lot of work to do, Riyadh. We got a lot of work to do. What happens if you have a private plane, huh? What? I mean, that's what they're doing to us, though. They're controlling our movement, right? Stay safe. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I saw also in Paris they have a curfew where people could go out running or walking right now. Again, they're way ahead of us over in Spain, over in Italy. That's so scary, right? To think about. No vaccines, no flights abroad. All right. Things are kind of stalled right now. So I'm stalled with you, everyone. And when I say they're stalled, is that we're just kind of in a holding pattern as markets have opened. These last 45 minutes, not much has happened right now. And that's just the quiet before the storm. When the markets get like this, you know what is happening next. It's true, Bitcoin could explode, especially if the equities keep rallying. And, at this point, this lower trend line here, this upper trend line, as they converge over here, if we got up into that area, I think that will be the high of the move. I do think that's where this thing will sell off. Who knows? That's what I think. But getting back to it, why I was bringing that up, this gives Bitcoin, if we do rise up a little bit further, because Bitcoin right now has been correlated to the equities and gold, right? So both of these, Bitcoin and gold, if the equities do support it a little bit, they could continue. If Bitcoin makes it past this resistance here, this trend line resistance, if Bitcoin makes it above here, right, at that point, it's going to make it above, I think, with a pop. Some other people are thinking this 77 is the next target. So watch that. When I say some other people, someone that I do respect their game. And I'm looking higher. I'm looking between 84.77 and 81.77. I think I'll be right. But if we get above this trend line over here, that opens up the door for Bitcoin in the fact that it's now back into its holding pattern post halving and is extremely, extremely bullish. Probably we won't get another liquidity crisis soon. I hope so. And hopefully by the time we do, Bitcoin's already in bull mode. Any way you look at it, in just about 40 days, the monetary policy of Bitcoin is initiating quantitative hardening. They are tightening the monetary supply as the rest of the world is easing. Think about that. Look, definitely, we have some friends and actually family of friends who are sick over there with you in Spain right now. And our prayers are definitely with you, Luca, and definitely your country in this time. So I would love the Bitcoin bulk train to continue. Markets now picking up a little bit, right? Is the dollar coming off as that happens? Let's see what's going on with the Euro US dollar. If she's putting up a little bit of a fight here, it's looking to take over this area of resistance right here. You can see, I mean, I hope you can see, for me, this is a very difficult day to trading. I'm not trading. There's no opportunity that I see where I'm ready to pounce at all. I'm kind of like if you use the savannah and analogy, I'm kind of right there on the grasslands looking. I don't even see anything. I'm not even ready to like stalk and pounce. Or if you're looking at a set of waves, I'm looking kind of like on the horizon. I don't even see the set that I'm ready to take advantage of. And I don't really like that. I like it when I'm involved. These are counter trend moves. Big moves. I think the market's at way ahead of me, and that's what it is. Wilfred, no, yes and no. Yes and no, Wilfred. So gold. First of all, we'll look at gold first, and what gold has been rising, right? We could go even since this obviously this is a liquidity crisis. This is an absolute crisis. $6 trillion response crisis. All right. But go back to December, the first of the year, and then to today, gold is up huge, right? Go back further, gold is up enormous, right? Throughout this time, the dollar has been strong and strengthening, right? And I think that will continue. I think that as the dollar gets strong, I think gold will also continue to outperform every other currency and be strong relative to the dollar. Will there become a point when the dollar is stronger than the gold? Yeah, you'll see this again. If we get to a breaking point, you'll see this. But as we get to a point where, and again, this is just this is my base case. It doesn't mean I'm right, and if I'm wrong, I hope that I have the awareness to be able to get right as quick as possible. But if we start trading up between 105 and 120, and we see that intervention come in between from the G20, a coordinated response against the dollar, gold is going to fly, right? Gold's going to fly. It's going to be trading what, 21, 2,500, and then the dollar will find its legs, stabilize, and go back up. But at that point, the fair value of gold is going to be way higher. Not to say that the dollar won't start making gains back versus gold, but gold is going to be repriced much higher, and Bitcoin also. So, if you had right now to make a decision for the next year, for the next 18 months, you couldn't be at the computer again. You had no access to information, right? So the ideal portfolio would probably be, you know, well, for me, it would be 25% dollars, 25% gold, and 50% Bitcoin. Walk away, and that would be the ideal portfolio. Yeah, Thomas, it really has come down. We could look at that right now because we were at an important level of support. Let's see if it holds. Yeah, I think we all. It looks nasty right now. That's for sure. The Mexican peso too, same thing. Actually shorted a little bit from here. Didn't get too much out of it, and then so there's no way. I saw the big sharp move up, which kind of frightened me to short this again. But I prefer to stay away. I also on gold. You say you regret not owning more physical. Um, I highly regret down here not really buying a lot of paper, because you could leverage in a little bit to the paper, and then you could exchange it later for the physical. Unless you come right now, there's plenty of there's still, you can buy physical if you need the physical. Even if you're paying $100 premium, listen, there's trade-offs for everything in this cost of doing business. But I really regret not having the foresight to be able to do that down here as well. And now that you're up here, you know, a lot of us got really shook over here with the liquidity crisis. But fast forward 1 year from now, the price of gold, I expect, is going to be significantly higher. Yeah, well, for that's what we do here. I love discussing it all with you, and I love getting all of everyone's perspective and insight, and you know the thought-provoking questions. It's a good community. It's a good family here, and I'm grateful. Everything is tough right now as we're into this area. Um, it's almost like everything's in slow motion after the volatility we've been seeing right now during this session. I think I think that the markets are mispriced. I think that they're wrong, but it doesn't matter what I think. The markets are the markets, and price is everything. It only matters what the markets are doing and showing. What I think and what I believe means absolutely zero. I thought on this break over here we were going to come down and test further. I'm surprised at this Friday when things were absolutely horrendous. This was the lows. And since then, it's just been uber bull. Euro, this is one to watch over here. It's got to get above this resistance in order for this to continue. Again, the dollar is only pulled back into support of its breakout. If you were looking at the dollar, you know, we were bullish the dollar over here, if you remember. If you remember, we were all bullish the dollar here, and all we did was get the breakout. This is the test of the breakout happening right now. Let's see whether or not it holds or fails. Let's try to get a little bit. There has not, the news feed is just dead. The markets are in standstill right now. You got to be aware of the conditions around you in order to be able to trade them. And you have to push yourself harder also, right? You have to push yourself a lot harder. You have to, especially when things get a little bit stale right now. You really got to really show that discipline of focusing in and staying mentally sharp. Don't get complacent whatsoever, right? There is going to be volatility is still here, and there's going to be time to act accordingly. What, if anything, is anyone see right now? Martine's in a beautiful trade, euro US dollar. What other trades are people in and or looking at? Because if there's opportunity that just not lining up for me, I would like to see it and be involved in it. I hope so. And I hope so, not because I'm looking like, listen, it's not easy being in lockdown with 5 kids. There's a lot of dishes to clean. There's a lot there's just a lot of everything. But I want those kids to have some semblance of normal. I want the world to be a good place where we are free to walk about, but at the same time, I'm just trying. I'm a realist. I just want to know whatever the situation is, whether it's good or bad. Therefore, I could then deal with it accordingly. And looking at the situation, the one thing that I have in the back of my mind is, was this response by the Fed enough to put up enough band-aids and more towards what Jesse said. Well, do they keep the music playing now for a little while longer before things get really bad again and then get crash even worse? I don't think so. I think this is it this time. I think that the bubble has burst. I think that the real pain is going to start probably about 6 weeks from now, when there are food banks across the world, people trying to help feed communities. Those resources are going to start to dwindle and dwindle. People are going to really be begging for the government to come there and help them. That's the whole, create the problem, provide a solution type deal. I think that's where we're at. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I was watching a program on Austria also last night, and it looks absolutely stunningly beautiful. Also, some beautiful, beautiful land up there. Let's check that out. Thomas, nice pickup on the euro also with Martine. All right, let's start on the daily here. Let's start on the daily here. There's a lot of momentum right now. I have this line over here, different shade, 119.62. That's the line, and I like that line because of the touch over here, over here. It's strong. It's strong resistance, and That's the line that I'm using. Well, actually, I know you guys are looking at this long. I'm looking at this for where I could short this. All right. So I hated it down here. I do like it now. Coming up into this area of resistance, I will watch it, maybe even sooner if it starts to turn. Um, and this was the magic one. So yeah, there's a lot of momentum to the upside here. And anyone riding this trade, this looks fantastic right now. Love it. That euro strength that we're seeing today, taking advantage of it there. I don't want to take off that chart. I want to take off that chart, but I want to pull up the chart of the euro US dollar so I could see how it's doing against that resistance. If it breaks that resistance and gets a little bit more bid here, I think you got at least another 70 pips in there, 65, 70 pips into the resistance. And that's not to say this doesn't break again. It just broke over here. I think this is where I will look to lean in if it holds though and go short. Well, Blair, so I'm thinking now that I don't know. I'm sorry, Euro US dollar. I don't know. I'm thinking now with the so this is just for the euro Japanese yen. Watch what happens here also at this resistance on the euro US dollar. Okay, because if we break through, you're going to see a bigger push here, a bigger push and a lot more opportunity. But at the same time, if we're rejected at this resistance, watch your profits. I don't know. I'm actually a little concerned that they may restrict travel. That sincerely, they may restrict travel as far as actually until you have that vaccine, which doesn't even exist yet. The borders are closed right now. They're not. If you could fly home to the United States. I do believe Canadians and Mexicans cannot enter the United States right now. I don't know if that's just land borders or if it's also air, but I'm concerned at some point in the future they're going to say, "All right, unless you have this vaccine, you can't travel." So I don't know what to do. BB, let's check her out. I don't know, Blair. I don't know. What's today's date? Oh yeah. How to cancel 13th, 10th to 13th. Had I canceled two trips over the last few weeks. One was back to San Francisco, and the other was to New York. And I don't really foresee getting on a airplane anytime soon. Before the summer. So a break above 6207. So looking to take the breakout. Now, I'm not a fan. Oh, well, actually, I'm really not a fan of taking breakouts. Look how far overextended and overbought price has been. Price has been overbought since for the last 150 pips, right? And price can only remain overbought for so long. See the entry CC line, this blue line over here. This is showing you're overbought, right? So if you break out here, how much longer could this stay overbought? Sometimes breakouts go without ever looking back and go straight up. It happens, right? Sometimes breakouts do that. They'll go up and never come back. Most of the time, you get a breakout. This is the resistance right around there, and then a pullback to see if that support, that broken resistance, holds a support. And then this is when the safe, high probability entry comes. Right now, what I like to do is, and you also see at the same time, if you break out here and then come back, retrace, you'll see this entry CCI pull back. Now the trend is positive. You pull back down against the uptrend, and then boom, first pullback is always the biggest as you snap back. So don't get FOMO chasing after momentum. Wait for the trade to reset. If the momentum is starting to break to the upside, wait for that first pullback and then nail it. What is going on with the euro Australian dollar today? Because we got two strong pairs. So is it kind of like the euro pound, which you got two strong pairs? So, well, Australian dollar is stronger, coming down to an area definitely of support over. I don't know. It's very ugly, undecided. Um, I don't have a read or an edge. If the Australian dollar breaks out there, I think that I would give the edge to the Australian dollar. I think that this risk on move continues and that we come down into this area down over here of support. In the risk off environment, the Australian dollar gets the edge. How much longer does that risk off environment last? It's always a headline away, right? Yeah. I think it's oversold right now too. I think these moves are extended. Here they are. They keep going. This is a nice little 15-minute. I got this from Dollar Vigilante yesterday. He shared it in his video. The story of Bill Gates. What do they say? Know your enemy. Not too much movement. Not too much movement since we got on. There's a lot of things that are becoming interesting if this current momentum starts to reverse itself. I want to check out the dollar, see if it's still at that area of support or not. 44, 69 minutes in. Huge amount of likes. Appreciate that, everybody. We're kind of stalled out. We're really not headed anywhere. That continues. So the next hour of trading, I imagine things pick up a little bit more. Got to be really, when things get quiet, watch out. Yeah. And I'm having a little bit of a hard time figuring out as you're talking about that. All right. This is the support. So let me This is the support we're at right now. And you could also see that support, by the way, if you, let me show you a 4 hour. Like this was resistance, resistance, resistance. Here's the breakout, a little bit of a retest, and then that's where we are right now. So this trend line over here, by the way, you can see the touch over here. I'm trying to see where it goes. Here's a touch. Is this also relevant? I think so. Right? I think this trend line is pretty important. Now, what I would like to see on the euro US dollar is what's above us. I think Europe's in actually pretty bad shape. I think Europe's in actually horrendous shape compared to the US, right? I'm not betting on the euro here. No way. Yeah. And you roll over probably the trade of the day. So it's a neckline. I'll take a look in 1 second, Jesse. Let's check out the euro Canadian dollar next. But I see right here, definitely on the Canadian dollar Swiss francs, though, that you're definitely seeing over here a break above that resistance. And that looks pretty good. Now, the question is, where does the daily close today and does it hold? Of course, we'll have to see. Would I come in? I wouldn't. I personally, Jordan, 100% stand aside. There's no way I'm looking to fade this because again, I don't think I don't think that you could open up the doors and the sun is shining and the economy's ready to start roaring again, or that we've seen the worst. Now a lot of people do, and the markets are right pricing that in right now. Do they overreact to the downside? Probably not. Are they overreacting to the upside? I think so. Now let's also check out the euro Canadian dollar. You know what was that? Tico, two interesting pairs that you're looking at here. Both of these are similar, reverse almost, right? But to be honest, that's tough. I don't see any reason for the Canadian dollar, which is since retraced to all of a sudden, I don't see any reason whatsoever for people to be bullish on the Canadian dollar. Best case scenario is OPEC comes in, they agree to some type of production cut, and you would see a short-term repricing in the Canadian dollar. But we might have already had that. I I don't see anything on either one of those trades that is screaming any type of clarity. where I'd want to get involved. The momentum is towards the Canadian dollar on both of those, but is that overdone? I don't know. If we look back at the US dollar, Canadian dollar also, you could see that little bit of support right now is could be even be holding. I would not get bearish on the Canadian dollar until this trend line broke, right? But and if it did broke, I would be bearish. Or if we broke down out of here, then I would expect some more follow through. But right now, I don't like it. I don't see it. Yeah, the DAX yesterday, I don't follow it, but was the biggest gainer, I think, out of everything. You do see a little bit turn here in the equities. What does that mean? Is Bitcoin also coming off? You could see Bitcoin coming off and gold coming off. So that correlation is still pretty intact. Now, US dollar and euro really have not moved in the last hour and 15 minutes at all. There hasn't even been any news flow whatsoever. We're going to see right now. This is a beautiful opportunity to see what type of buying interest there is right now. Let's see the strength of this trend right now to see whether or not any dip buyers come in right now and buy this up. That will give us an indication of whether or not we expect this to continue. Thomas, was that stop hunting right there? Kind of like this down here. Look at this spike down there on that bar on the at when prices spike down. Is that also a little bit of stop hunting? It could be. Watch here for a reversal. It is a slower day though. Definitely a day you should be trading much less. Let's see over here, just getting a look here at the Dow, which opened up, made a higher high, and is since off right now. I like reading Market Watch because the headlines, it's kind of like reading CNN. So far, the dip's being bought. Market's too mixed today, and too slow. I don't see the edge. As we wind in to this holiday week, though, and um, I think Good Friday is on Friday. I do believe that we will see. I do believe the markets are closed. Let me confirm that for you right now. Yep, markets should be closed on the Friday the 10th. At least most of them. Um, so traders right now, as far as new positionings and whatnot, well, sometimes during crisis situations, and I don't think the crisis is over, as though we're pricing them, you could see a lot of volatility. So be careful this week. This is not a normal week, or normal time as we've been in. But I'm seeing right now so far today, and we will watch very closely to see whether or not that continues over the next couple of days, or into tomorrow, through the London and New York session, if whether or not we do see a decrease in volatility. And that's because people tend to go on vacation early. There's just less going on in the markets. I'm seeing an early indication of that right now. Yep, we got a lot of those. Watch here, though. Watch here to see whether or not that was just some stop hunting above that resistance. What is dollar? Let's check on the DXY actually. Gold pulling up. Slow motion train wreck. Look at that. Pound Japanese yen right into the resistance. Australian dollar, Japanese yen into resistance. Hmm. And the euro. Oh man, I wish I had more gold. Everyone's gonna be saying, I wish I had more gold. I wish I had more Bitcoin. I would love to see today a day when we have the equities pull down sharply and gold and Bitcoin decouple and go to the upside. Once we see that day, I'm going to be a happy camper. Let's see. This is an opportunity though with risk off assets having pulled all the way back, right? You could see here. You could see. I'm not telling anyone to act or anything like that, but you could see pound Japanese yen into the area of resistance once again. This is where the opportunity lies. You see it on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. You see it on the New Zealand dollar. Japanese yen. So what about the Swiss franc? Into the heavy area of resistance. All right, everyone. I think this is a pretty solid place for us to call it a session because it's getting a little bit slow. I don't mean for the downtime, for the down air, but the market is what the market is. Do expect though we're going to see some pretty sharp moves, perhaps, or the sharpest of the session in the next 30 minutes. I have my eye out whether or not equities recover onto their highs today or sell off. What's going to happen? We're at in a pretty important injunction across the board, whether it's the dollar and these risk off assets. Do they hold here? Do the resistance and support on the XY hold? Or do we roll over and push up further for a higher move? I don't have the answers to those questions. Otherwise, we would all be extraordinarily rich, but I would be able to follow them and trade them as they come. So I thank you, and I wish you all a really, 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 really wonderful day. I'll talk to you later.